Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a review and demo of the Beauty Blender versus the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. They're very similar products and I'm very keen to see which one performs best and what the differences are. So if you guys would like to hear my thoughts, then keep on watching. So first of all, I'm going to show you guys a demo where I use both the Beauty Blender and the Real Techniques sponge to apply my foundation, just so you can compare and contrast the application. So on this side of my face, I use the Beauty Blender, and then on this side, I use the Real Techniques sponge. So the makeup came out looking relatively similar, but there are a few differences in the level of coverage and blendability. So I will show you guys that now. Okay, so I have done my eyes and now I'm going to go in and do my foundation. Today I'm going to be wearing the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Makeup Foundation. This is one of my favorite high-end foundations. I wear it nearly every day and I have used both the Beauty Blender and the Real Techniques sponge to apply this many times. So what I thought would be a good way to compare the two products would be to apply foundation on this side using the Beauty Blender and then this side using my Real Techniques sponge. So first I'm going to go in on this side with the Beauty Blender. There we go, so that's that side. And I'm going to go in with the Real Techniques sponge on this side. Now I'm using the larger flat tip to do the forehead because it does allow you to get in that surface a little bit better than the smaller side. I think you guys can already see, but there is more coverage on this side than this side. So the Beauty Blender does provide slightly more coverage when you're applying. Okay. So first I'm going to go in with the Real Techniques on this side and I'll use the pointed edge to blend in. And I'll go in this side with the Beauty Blender. Yeah, just right off the bat you can see it does provide a lot more coverage. So now for the tricky part, the nose area. So I have had a little bit of trouble recently, probably because of my skin and being sunburnt, with my nose area and having the foundation break up a little bit. So if that does happen today, it isn't entirely to do with the sponge, more so just my skin. So to make this easier, I'll just go like this. And then that looks so funny, it looks like I'm wearing zinc. I'll go in first with the pointed edge of the Real Techniques sponge, just blend that out. I have applied a lot of product on there. I'm just, yeah, it is a little bit difficult. Breaking up a little bit there. Don't know if you guys can see that. So we'll try the other side with the Beauty Blender. I find this a little bit easier. So it is still breaking up. So it's not the sponge in that case. Just giving some nice coverage there. Just around the eye area. Take it up the ears a little bit. So I've finished applying the foundation and overall I did find that the Beauty Blender did provide slightly more coverage and it was a little bit easier to blend out on the skin than the Real Techniques sponge. So I'm going to go and finish the rest of my makeup and then we're going to talk more in depth about each product to compare and contrast to see which one is best. So now that you guys have seen how to apply foundation using each sponge, let's talk a little bit more about each product. So this is the Beauty Blender here, which I'm sure most of you guys have seen. It has become one of the most popular products to apply your makeup with, and it is certainly my favorite. I haven't even used a brush in years ever since using this, but I have tried out some other sponges just here and there for a little bit and wasn't impressed. So I thought I'd check out the Real Techniques one. So this is what they look like side by side. They've both been dampened and used to apply makeup. You can get the Beauty Blender from Sephora for 30 Australian dollars. These do retail a little bit cheaper in the US, but that is what you're going to pay here in Australia, $30. That is quite a large amount of money for a sponge that you're only supposed to use between 3 to 6 months. So that's the price for this one here, and then we have the Real Techniques sponge. So you can purchase this from Priceline or Adore Beauty for $16.99, and again it is a lot cheaper in the US. but this is nearly half the price of a beauty blender, so there is a big difference in price. In terms of size, they're very similar, but as you can see, when they are dampened, the Real Techniques sponge is slightly larger. They also have very different shapes. So the Beauty Blender has the classic teardrop shape here, and then the Real Techniques one's slightly different. So it has a flat edge that is quite large. So as you can see, there is definitely a difference in size. But one similarity is that they do both have the tip at the end, which is perfect for applying in small spots. So under the eye, around the nose, and around the mouth, and areas like that that are hard to get into with a rounded or flat edge. So in terms of density, they are a little bit different. So the Beauty Blender is a little bit lighter and less dense, and the Real Techniques sponge is a lot more dense. This does make a difference when you are applying the foundation, concealer, whatever product you want to apply, that's cream or liquid. It is a little bit harder to apply the product using the Real Techniques because it is denser, so it takes a little bit more pushing to get the product to blend into the skin, whereas with the Beauty Blender it is a little bit lighter and you can just tap it into the skin. Because there is a flat edge, this makes it very easy to apply products on large spaces of the face. So especially with the forehead, I found it really handy to go in with this flat edge because it does apply a lot of product easily to a large space, whereas you have the rounded edge here. So it's a little bit more difficult. It does take a little bit more of putting the product into the skin. So with the difference in size between the edges, this one is a little bit more narrow and this is a little bit more thicker. So it is a lot easier to go in under the eye, I found, with this one because it is a little bit smaller and it's easier to get into those little crevices there. This does do the job well, but it's a lot easier with the Beauty Blender. So a lot of people like myself like to use sponges to apply setting powder under the eye too. And when doing that with both of these sponges, they both performed really well. This one actually applied a little bit more under the eye area, which was nice, which is perfect for baking. And they both are really good to use when you want to bake your contour as well. They both work similarly to do the same thing. So one of the main points of difference between these two sponges is coverage. I personally found that when using the Beauty Blender, you do get a lot more coverage with your makeup. Not to say that this doesn't provide you with any coverage, it's just slightly lighter than this one, and you do have to pat a little bit more and maybe even apply an additional layer to get the same coverage that you would with the Beauty Blender. But that could be how I use the product, so I'm not saying that it will always be that way, but personally I did find that the Beauty Blender did provide better coverage. One area where I do think the Real Techniques sponge is better is it does absorb less product. Because it's a lot more dense, it seems to absorb less foundation, which makes it a lot easier to clean and keep intact as well. So that's one area where the Real Techniques is slightly better than the Beauty Blender. So in terms of the brands, Real Techniques and Beauty Blender are very different. So obviously Beauty Blender specializes in this product here and application of liquid makeup to the face, and also products around how to maintain this. So they have their soap, they have their liquid soap, they have smaller beauty blenders, they have the Blotterazzi. They are starting to expand their range a little bit more, but they do specialize in the Beauty Blender, whereas Real Techniques covers a whole different range of tools and brushes, and I absolutely love the Real Techniques makeup brushes. They're some of my favorite brushes. I use them every single day in my makeup routine, so I'm a really big believer in Real Techniques. And of course, because it was started by the amazing Sam and Nicole, they're YouTubers. I really believe in what they're trying to do, and they have created an incredible brand. And another thing that I love is the price point. So this is significantly cheaper, nearly half the price of the Beauty Blender, and their products are a lot more less expensive. So I love both of the brands, but Beauty Blender really does specialize in this, and I think that is why this product is slightly better and of a higher quality. That's because this is really what they specialize in doing, and they have created an absolutely incredible product. But in saying that, the Real Techniques sponge is an incredible dupe, and it is a close second to the Beauty Blender. I have tried so many different sponges and they're all too firm. These are both really nice and soft, which makes it easy to blend makeup into the skin. So if you're on a budget and you want something that's a little bit more purse friendly, then I would absolutely go with the Real Techniques. You don't need to invest in a beauty blender if it's above your budget and you don't want to pay that much just for a single sponge. But this is the best sponge that you can buy on the market, in my opinion. And yes, it is a lot of money, and yes, you only get a little bit of wear out of these sponges, but they're fantastic and they really make a difference in your makeup application. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I'm looking to do a lot more of these going forward, comparing higher end products with drugstore or lower end products, just to see how they compare and to find some great dupes for you guys, because like you, I'm on a budget and we can't always afford these amazing high-end products. So I'm definitely going to try and find some more dupes for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you lots. Bye.